Hey ladies, I am super late today. I'm so sorry. I had filmed the video yesterday because it's a lot of information. I filmed it yesterday, like last night, and was gonna upload it to YouTube so then I could share the link here. But it took forever. My computer is really slow, and so I had been trying to upload it last night. Anyway, it didn't work. It was taking forever, so I thought I just need to get on. I'll just do the video live and call it a day. So anyway, so thank you so much for joining me on our fourth day already on the Mommies and Macros group. I really appreciate it, and I am so excited to share with you guys today the meat and potatoes of this online workshop. So today we are going to be focusing on calculating your macronutrient goals during pregnancy and while you're nursing. I know this is what so many of you have been waiting for, so I'm really excited to share with you this info. So as I've said earlier in the week, I gained a significant amount of weight in my first pregnancy, about 45 plus pounds. And so while I was still active throughout my entire pregnancy, I ran a lot. I really made crappy eating choices and literally ate for two the whole time. And 5 years later, armed with better nutrition education and a desire for a healthier pregnancy, I've successfully been able to track my macros well into my third trimester. I'm 34 weeks now. And so today I want you to learn how to calculate your macronutrient goals for pregnancy and while you're nursing. So, full disclaimer, I really advise you to check this over with your OBGYN or your midwives before beginning, and just so that way they have an understanding of where you're starting from and are able to give you the all clear before you begin, a dietary regimen. For the most part, my midwives are really cool about it. I share with them my food diary so they see that I'm eating from whole minimally processed sources anyway. And so equipping your healthcare provider with that information will show them as well that you're serious about healthy eating throughout your pregnancy and you're not depriving yourself or the baby. And then of course, like giving them, that insight or letting them know that this is your plan, they can monitor your weight gain, the weight gain of your growing baby, and make sure that you guys are both on track with a healthy pregnancy. So, if you have downloaded the workbook, you can utilize the space provided within the book to do your calculations. I personally keep a running document in Google Docs, or you can use a Word document or even just notes on your phone to do the calculations and kind of keep them going. But point is, it's a good idea to jot it down somewhere. And so that way you have a date set to it and when you started it, kind of how far along you are in your pregnancy. I should flip it around. But I have like at 22 weeks, I was at this weight and this is what my macros were and so on. So just to give you some ideas on like how to keep track of it. Okay, so let's dive in. The first step you're going to want to do is complete a quick calculation to get a more accurate estimate of your calories to maintain your current weight. So regardless of what stage you're in your pregnancy, you would take your current body weight in pounds and multiply it by an activity multiplier, which indicates just your level of activity throughout a typical week. I recommend choosing an activity multiplier between 10 and 14. Don't overthink the activity multiplier. The calories don't change that much between 10 and 14, so don't stress over it. So you're going to take your body weight in pounds and then multiply it by 10 to 14. And so that'll give you your calories to maintain your current weight. So in the workbook, the example lady that I have is she's 29 years old, she weighs 150 pounds and does moderate activity. So for moderate activity, that is about 3 to 4 workout sessions per week. If you work out 5 to 6 days a week, obviously you'll want to increase your multiplier, multiplying by 14 or even 15. So we will say this 150 pounds times 13, and that is going to give us 1950 calories. Okay, so she weighs 150 pounds. Multiply that by the activity calculator, or the activity multiplier, so 13, because she works out 3 to 4 days a week, and that gives us 1950 calories, okay? So if her goal was to maintain her current weight, she would just eat 1950 calories. Now, what is recommended to increase calorie-wise for pregnancy is an additional 300 calories per day. Now, remember that depending on where you're currently at, if you were overweight or underweight, you might want to increase or decrease that calorie amount of 300. So 1950 plus 300 would give us 2250. So then if she were wanting to maintain her current weight and have a safe, healthy gain during her pregnancy by adding 300 calories, her daily intake would be 2250. Easy, right? Super easy to figure out. But what if her goal is to keep fat gain to a minimum, or excess fat gain to a minimum during her pregnancy? Or maybe she wants to try to lose body fat while still fueling the healthy growth of the baby. It's entirely possible. I feel very confident that I have done this, that I've been able to do this with gaining a healthy amount of baby weight and not a ton of excess fat. So in order to do this, what we're going to do is take her maintenance calories, so that 1950, and we are going to multiply it by 20%, so to give us the weight loss calories. So I couldn't find the eraser, thanks to a 5-year-old. So 1950 is her maintenance calories times 20%. And that equals 1560. So if she were strictly eating for weight loss and was not pregnant, she would be aiming for 1560 calories per day. But she's pregnant, so she needs to eat enough to fuel that baby, fuel her workouts, and fuel herself, right? So now we're going to take that 1560 and add back our 300 calories, because those are the calories that we need for baby. So that takes us back up to 1860. I jotted all this down ahead of time in case you couldn't tell. All right. So now this woman who was wanting to keep body fat gain to a minimum but still eat enough to grow a healthy baby and fuel herself and fuel her workouts is going to aim for 1860 calories a day. Okay? Simple, right? So now for nursing women, the general rule is to add anywhere between 300 to 500 calories additional per day. So then you would use those same numbers, so the 1560, so let's just say 1560, and then we'll add 400 calories to give us 1960. So for nursing women, you're going to want to add, using that same calculation as above, you're going to want to add an additional 300 to 500 calories. It's going to be really important, ladies, to monitor your supply. Keep an eye out for if your supply is dropping, then maybe you need to increase your calories, or vice versa, okay? So now that we have the calculation down and we've got calories, so now we know our goal is 1860. How do we break down those calories? Like, great, Sarah, you told me how many calories to eat, but now what do I do with that information? So now breaking down the calories into proteins, carbs, and fats, and how many of those should you have every day. So when in doubt, keep it simple. Start with an even split of about 30% protein, 45% carbs, and 25% fats. If you're utilizing the MyFitnessPal app, you should be able to enter your calorie goal and then adjust the percentages to the above, 30% protein, 45% carbs, 25% fats, without having to do the math. I can totally tell you how to do the math. It's just a little long. So in our example, the macronutrient breakdown based on our example woman's numbers. So she had 1,860 calories, and then so 40% protein would be, 40% protein would be 140 grams of protein. And then 45% carbs would be 209 grams of carbs. And then fats would be 25%, so that comes out to 52 grams of fats. So this is how this young woman would break down her numbers for pregnancy, how she would break down her macronutrient goals specifically. So doing 30% protein, 45% carbs, and 25% fats. So this is going to give you an estimate of where to start. If you, based on food preferences, if 140 grams of protein sounds astronomical to you, make those adjustments. That's the beauty of If It Fits Your Macros, because you can adjust based on your food preferences. So also food aversions. If you're struggling with, I can't eat that much protein right now, it makes me feel sick, you can definitely adjust your intake where maybe you have increased carb amounts and increased fats, and lower your protein. Just make sure that you are sticking with it, or at least like trying to hit those numbers on a daily basis. And that's where you can make those adjustments is that, if you're not feeling something that day or whatever, you can just increase a different macro to offset that change. I personally have used throughout my pregnancy, have continued to use carb cycling. I'm really short. I'm only 5'1", so I don't have the luxury of eating a ton of food anyway. And so I enjoy carb cycling because it allows me to have a couple of days out of the week where I do an increased intake of carbohydrates, and I get to enjoy a greater variety of foods and get to work in those treats that I'm craving sometimes. So it's definitely something to look at and to adjust for yourself. You can definitely do that with If It Fits Your Macros. So now, once the baby arrives, if you're planning on nursing or are currently nursing, your macro breakdown will change just a little bit. And so it's recommended that you increase your calories about 300 to 400, 300 to 500. And so because breast milk is mostly protein and fat, those are the macronutrients that you're going to want to increase for a good, healthy, nutritious milk supply. So in that case, you would change up your percentages to 40% protein, 30% carbs, and 30% fats. Again, you can adjust based on your food preferences and carefully monitoring your supply. So I realize this is a lot of info. So if you receive the emails or need to get on the email list, definitely drop your email here in the comments. but you will see a more detailed email go out today covering all of this and how to break it down for yourself. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys have questions about your specifics, or maybe, you determine your numbers and